Hey guys, I wanted to do an update on the solar generator build. I haven't posted any videos in a while. Life has been getting busy, get distracted with other projects, the way things tend to go. But I wanted to do a post to update you on a few changes that I'm going to be making to this, just to kind of give you guys a heads up that they're coming down the pipe. And I wanted to show you the way I've been using this. Currently, this barn does not have power run to it yet. I may run dedicated power to it at some point in the future, and I may set up a dedicated off-grid solar power unit or solar power setup for it. But in the meantime, I've been using my solar generator, and it's been getting me by for the most part. Most of the stuff I need to do, it's been able to keep up with, no problem. One of the big exceptions is occasionally I need to run this air compressor. I can grab this camera here, make it a little easier to show you. This portable air compressor that I have, unfortunately, does not want to run on that inverter. The inverter immediately faults to a overload. The motor will cycle 1 or 2 revolutions, so I know it's really close. Now this is I mean, you have to take these ratings with a grain of salt sometimes, but Campbell Hallsfield rates that as a 2.5 horsepower portable generator or air compressor. And there are a lot smaller ones. The pancake style ones tend to be a lot smaller. The motor size on them is smaller as well. I think it would probably run one of those no problem, but I don't have one to test it with. If any of you guys that are building this have one that you do know runs just fine with it, please post in the comments, let me know what model you're using, just so we can kind of give guys a heads up on what kind of air compressors they can use and what ones they cannot. And since I've been keeping it in here, what I've found worked really well is I ran my solar panel cable and I just set them temporarily up on the top of this roof on this side part of this building. And I'll just kind of give you a look how that works. Walk around here. And they're not mounted to any brackets or anything, but they're in a spot that's pretty well protected from the wind. And you can actually see them, they're just sitting on the top of the roof there. So when I do need to take the panels with me, I can just grab them off the top there real easy. And for a lot of the times when I go to use the solar generator, I'm using it for something small. I just need power temporarily in the backfield somewhere. I don't even bother with the panels. I just pull the panel plug. If I have anything in here plugged in, I unplug that and I'm ready to go. This handle slides right out. And I really like this Pelican case. This Pelican case has worked great for being able to move it around. It's super rugged. These wheels have held up great. I've driven them across, or pulled them across gravel, grass, ruts, everything. You can tell it's getting a little dirty and beat up, but that's, I mean, the way I've been using it, that's to be expected. But it hasn't had any problems with the durability of it at all. Like for example, I'll just drag it right over this threshold right here, and don't even hesitate to do that at all. And when I come back in, I use it almost just like you would use a furniture dolly. I just pull it up against it, drag it up on. I mean, it just works great. It handles the weight of everything inside there really well. And to carry it, it's a pretty heavy package to carry. It can be done, it's a little easier with 2 people. If you're going to a short distance, it can be done by 1 person pretty well. But this right here makes it so easy for carrying it long distances. I'd highly recommend, if you're gonna build one of these, this is a really good case. I'm really happy with it. Once I'm done working with it in the field, I just throw it back into the barn and I take my solar panel connection and connect it right into that 6-pin trailer connector, just like that. And now it's recharging. The solar panels will recharge my batteries so that it'll be topped off for the next time I need to use it. Or when I need to use it in the barn, they will continue to recharge it as I'm using it. Another couple updates I'm going to be doing is these switches. I had some feedback on them that they're not truly waterproof, and that's true. They're considered splash proof, and for the most part, they are. I've had this out in the rain quite a few times. You see this one working no problem. But what I've discovered, and I had it out in a very heavy rain one day, and I did start having problems with the upper switches. This one where it's on the surface that sheds water, it wasn't a problem. But this surface, it was such a heavy rain that it was pooling up. And after it pooled up enough, it did start to get down into these switches. And these 2 switches here have quit working now since that rain. So I'm going to replace those. This is a little bit better quality and also, unfortunately, a little more expensive switch. But this is a IPv6 rating on this switch, which should mean it's actually good completely underwater. So this switch and the wire harness, I'm going to replace out these two. Actually, I'll probably replace out all three. I'll put the link to this on the in the video description for these switches. They are a little bit more money, but if you are going to be using this out in heavy storms, you know, where you really need them to be truly waterproof, I think these are going to be a better way to go. I will be doing another video to show you the installation with these switches, the wiring for them, and a couple of the other updates I'm about to talk about. And I'll probably reshoot the actual intro video for this at the same time, replace the part 1 video. When I did the part 1 video the first time around, it wasn't built. It was just a pile of parts. So I kind of showed what it was going to be or what the plan was, but all you really could see was a pile of parts. So I'd really like to reshoot that now that it is completed. And then at the end of that, I'll probably include the updates and how to do those as well. The other change I'm going to make is this right here, the heavy duty high current connector. It hasn't held up, or the connector itself has held up really well. They don't make one that I've found that is designed to be mounted the way we mounted it. So when we put this together, we used hot glue. And you can see the hot glue and the RTV to keep it waterproof. It just, when you're using it a lot, it eventually came loose. So see, that's how it was, and now it's pushed in like this. So I'm going to upgrade the way that we mounted that, and I've come up with, I think, a better solution for that. I'm just going to use one of these easy applicator JB Weld epoxy. Basically, it self-mixes, and you put it in there. It's going to be almost the same process. So instead of using hot melt glue, we're going to use epoxy. I think that's going to get us a much more durable connection there that'll probably hold up to a little more abuse. I did eventually break my plexiglass. As you can see, I use it to be able to store things within the case, within the empty space. One of the main things I store are these jumper cables. And these jumper cables connect in with the connector that I was just talking about. So you can see how they connect in like that, and you can see how that connector is now a problem. It didn't used to be. But hopefully the epoxy will take care of that. But you just take these, and when I'm in a hurry, I stuff them into here, and I eventually did break my plexiglass. So if you're going to be using it a lot, we may need to come up with a better solution for the plexiglass. I do really want to keep the ability to be able to store things inside this. I find that, especially with the jumper cables and small things, other things that I always use with the generator, it's nice to be able to put things in the case. And without something in here, we have a lot of connections to be worried about, even the battery connection. You definitely don't want anything metal to ever come across anything in here with the high current wires especially. We have fuses in place for most everything, but the battery terminals, there's no fuse for that. So there are some ways that we can have a shock, not really a shock hazard, but a arcing and fire hazard by shorting some of these things out. And then the other thing that's changed since I've made this is we were using the Krieger 2000 watt inverter, and they've taken that down. They no longer seem to sell that model. I don't know if they're going to be posting it back up into the future, but as of right now, you can't buy the 2000 watt inverter that I used in the original plans with the how-to series. So what I've done, I went and purchased the 3000 watt version, which is very similar. It wires in the same way. It's got the same, it comes with your harness and your fuses just like before. And I was hoping to see if it would fit. And fortunately, it does. We will be able to fit it. We'll have to run the wire harness and fuse and of course all that stuff. But the good news is it will fit in the same location as the 2000 watt, and we're not going to have to rearrange the battery or move anything else around. So that's really good to see. So there are going to be some small changes in the standoffs that mount to the feet. Those have, of course, changed a little bit, but they're not that bad. And one advantage of this is it's going to be a 3000 watt continuous and 4000 watt peak. So we should get a little more capacity out of this one. And we can also direct wire. This one has a port where you can direct wire your plug. So where we cut a plug off of an extension cord to wire into our eye outlet down here, we won't need to wire a plug in here anymore now. We can just pigtail that off and run it to this plate, or direct wire in behind this plate. So we can actually save a little bit of cost there. Not a lot, but I mean a little bit of cost here, it always helps. Because this is a slightly more expensive inverter too. So those are the changes I'm going to be making to the inside into the design of this unit. And like I said, I will have a how-to showing you step by step for all these changes in the next video, hopefully the next video. And another project I want to show you guys that I'm hoping to have finished up here real soon is the Kubota project. It's taken a long break. I've been painting, so I've got my wheels painted, started on the hood, I've got the fenders painted on all sides, got the dash painted, the chassis is painted as well as the side steps. And we've got this wired up and we've got it running now. If you've been following this series, I had to, basically this tractor was pulled out of a field, hadn't been running in a long time. When it had been parked, it had overheated, and we discovered later the head was cracked. But when I pulled it out of the field, the cylinders were all seized up. I pretty much had to separate everything, pull the engine, which requires splitting the chassis into two sections, and then rebuilding the engine. And as I did that, I started rebuilding all the easy things to get to on the frame. Hoping to have this as almost a brand new tractor, more or less, once we get it broken in. The engine is running now. I did have some difficulty getting it started the first time. We had some issues with, number one, the head was cracked. We didn't see that at first, so I had to take it back apart, pull the head, replace the head. I replaced it with a new head that came with the valves and everything all brand new and replaced and pre-assembled. Put it all back together and still could not get it to start. What I discovered was that the valves on this replacement head were not seated very well, and I was getting low compression because the valves were leaking. So pulled it off a second time, lapped and ground the valves here at home just using the do-it-yourself home method, and waited until I could get a good seal. I used the water bottle test for testing my valve seal, put it all back together, and we finally got it fired up. I've ran it in a half an hour, retorqued the head bolts, and it's now ready for break-in. So I picked up a subsoiler, and all I got to do now is put my fenders and dash on, finish wiring up the remaining new wiring stuff, and I should be able to break it in. And I'm hoping once it's broken in, the engine will be running really well. Our compression's still a little low, but I'm hoping that that's just due to the rings not being seated, and I'm hoping the break-in will take care of that. We'll just have to try it and see. But that'll be an upcoming video when that's ready to go, or at least when I'm breaking it in. I'll probably film a little bit of that so you guys can stay up to date on that series. And another one I want to do is I'm trying to get more projects. The solar generator was really popular. A lot of people have responded with great feedback. A lot of people have built that. I think at least 20 to 30 people have emailed me or left comments that they built one of these and they're really happy with it. So I really wanted to focus on that because it was so well received. But I do want to get in some other topics. And one of the next projects I want to take on is I have a couple hillsides that are really not mowable. They're just too steep of an incline. I don't know if you can see it with the camera very well, but this is about a 45 degree. It's barely walkable. If it's wet out, you almost have to crawl up this hill. You'll slip. None of the mowers I have can even come close to mowing this. It's just not accessible by mower. So I weed whack it. And there's a few other places on the property that are the same way. And I was trying to think of what else we can do. It's newer technology. A lot of things have come out in the last several years, and a lot of the things that were out there before that were too cost prohibitive have come down. So I'm actually going to try to build a do-it-yourself robotic hillside mower. Basically be remote controlled, RC, just like a lot of the newer RC helicopters and drones and all the, the quadricopters and all the stuff. That stuff's just kind of exploded in the last few years. As well as a lot of the components to be able to build such a thing have gotten a lot cheaper. Lithium-ion power tools, all that stuff's just gotten a lot better and a lot cheaper. So I'm going to see what I can come up with for a do-it-yourself robotic mower that you basically just control with a RC controller set. Hopefully it'll work out, and that'll be another series of videos coming up. If that sounds like something you guys would be interested in, let me know. And also, if you have any friends that you think that would be interested in something like that, let them know, and subscribe to the channel, and we'll hopefully have that coming soon. Thank you, guys.